Anyway, long story short,
Yes.
we're like calling our association, like, where's our car? Because they didn't leave a notice. We had no idea where our car went. It was on our driveway. So we're like, what's going So they literally went on our property. Like they broke so many laws.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's paid for. So
So
it's
who
not
are you
like it was a
hiring?
repo. It's like, I'm not understanding what's going on here. So they
Wow.
broke so many laws.
What's up, you guys? Today, this is Jean-Paul Anderson. I'm here with Rosa Eda from the Paralegal Podcast. I hope I said that correctly. She's an innovator, a person who teaches paralegals or anybody who wants to get into the legal industry and wants to learn more about how to become a paralegal. So, Eda Rose, you're on.
Hi. Yeah. So the podcast is Let's Talk Paralegal. And I've been doing business for a while now. I've been a legal professional for 20 plus years, and my business will now complete its 6th year in July. So pretty proud of it. But like any other business, it grew, right? It didn't start off like it is now. So a lot of things happen in between, and I'm super excited to just, continue to spread the word and the knowledge to our legal community.
That's great. That's great. So how did this is an interesting thing. It's one of these, you have a niche, right? So you're providing consulting services to paralegals on how to become better in the legal world.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
my question is, who taught you this? How did you get into this? How did you get involved? Because I think those are the really interesting stuff that people should know.
Yeah. So like I said, I was a paralegal for 15 years full time, worked for a variety of law firms all around across, you name it, across the nation, really. And I was exposed to many different types of law, many different dynamics. I worked anywhere from like a sole practitioner to like a full-fledged law firm with multiple locations. Like, you name it, I experienced it. And towards the tail end of my full-time career, I went ahead and I did the ultimate, right? The executive paralegal that, runs the show and
There you go.
manages and does everything, right? So anything from running reports for the company to setting up client intel to whatever, right? And so I did that for, get this, a full 5 months.
Wow. That's a long time.
Yeah, it was a long time. So I thought I had reached the peak of my career. And I ended up, when you get to the finish line and you're like, that's it,
Right.
and that's really where I was. I said, this can't be it. I was a recent mom. My daughter was barely a year old at that point. And I was working the 9 to 5 grind, and I was like, there has to be a better way that I can spend time with this new creature that I just birthed and still make money, doing what I love, servicing the community and servicing the legal community as well, right? Both.
Yeah.
So I quit.
Yeah. Wow. That's hard. That's not easy to do. That takes
I
a
know.
lot.
And my husband looked at me like I had 3 heads. And he's like, what are you doing? We just had a baby. Like, what? So obviously he was freaking out. And I said, don't worry, I got this. I will figure it out. It was my idea. And my apologies for not talking it through first. But I got this. And I had so much confidence in myself that I think I instilled that confidence in him as well.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, I had my business already open. I opened up my LLC. I had my first client, and that was it. The rest is history. So for the first 2 years, I provided strictly paralegal services. That's all. On a freelance basis, I would go in, do whatever I needed to do, get out, boom. Done. And a couple months later, I had another client, and 3 clients turned into 7, and then 7 turned into 10, and so on and so forth. And it was a great journey. It really was. I can't complain. But then again, I get to the finish line. My company is flourishing. I'm offering the services. I'm doing all the things. I'm spending time with my daughter. I'm, all of it, right? And then I'm like, again, at the finish line. Well, now what? That's it? No, I have so much more to offer. And so in that process, I had a lot of paralegals reaching out to me through LinkedIn, social media, email, whatever, right? However they could ever reach me, they were reaching out to me and they're like, how did you do it? Like, how are you where you are now? And how can I do it? And how can you replicate this? And so on and so forth. And then I said, wow, I'm really onto something, apparently.
Yeah, of course.
So I started like paralegal coaching, and I started speaking engagements for universities and associations and law firms, and that's how I started consulting, because the attorneys were like, look, you empowered the hell out of our staff, in just that 1 hour. Like, what else can you do? Because that's really what lacks, right? Is the ambition, the grit, the proactiveness instead of the reactiveness. And that's really what I talk about. It's like, y'all need to like get it together and stop using a to-do list and, make it as a reminder, and really look at your cases and care for your clients, and remember why you're there and who you're serving.
Yeah.
And that's really what it's all about. That's really what a paralegal is. So that happened. And I learned by experience, to be honest with you. I have a bachelor's, I have the paralegal certificate, I have an associate's in pre-law, like I have all the things, right? I'm LexisNexis certified, you name it. I have all the certifications, but none of what I actually teach, I've learned inside of a classroom,
Right.
And that's the gap. That's what we're trying to, alleviate, the gap between the studies and the practicing. And that's what I do, and that's how I learned it.
Yeah, you can read up as many books as you want, you can study all you want, but if you don't have the experience, then forget it. It just and that's the hardest thing is, and I'm sure help your paralegals or your audience go from A to Z fairly quickly just by providing a lot of the information that they might miss out on or that they don't even know about.
And honestly, I've made the mistakes. That's how you learn from failure, from making mistakes, from really. Another thing that I feel paralegals have is fear. Like they feel inferior. They feel fear of speaking up and talking about their knowledge, and male or female, it doesn't matter. There's no discrimination. There's no barrier when it comes to fear. And so that's another barrier and another element. And
absolutely,
we can get into that later, but it's like, there's so many different levels that you need to ravel to get to where you want to get to. You're in your own way sometimes.
So I know we kind of reviewed our questions prior to this, and I feel like I'm asking you again, but what is one thing that you feel confident about sharing that most people maybe don't know about you? I know you said, that you figured out you kind of had a niche going and that you were able to work with multiple offices and provide value for them and probably cut down a lot of their costs maybe, and motivate their staff, which is probably, as a business owner, to keep your staff motivated and connected and communicating is company culture. I mean, that's just what it is, right? So you gotta have company culture as a business owner, or else you'll have one rotten apple that destroys your company, and you don't want that, because you don't want your company to get destroyed within, So tell me, what is the thing that you feel confident about in sharing with us?
I would say I know it sounds so cliche, but follow your gut. Really. You have to follow your gut. You have to follow your instincts. And sometimes though, you have to be careful, because some people will say, well, I followed it and if it led me to the wrong direction. And I was like, no, that was something else. That wasn't your gut. That wasn't your intuition. That wasn't your value. That wasn't yourself. You made that decision due to something else. Right. So the decision that I made of leaving my corporate job to opening up a business, that was finally my decision. I didn't want to go in the corporate world in the first place. I always wanted to own my own business. I always wanted red hair. I always wanted to do this and that, and I'm doing all the things, and I was like, it's never too late to do whatever it is you want. So right now I'm in my element because I'm finally following my gut. And I'm finally following my actual intuition, and I'm not people pleasing, and I'm not being the perfectionist that, law loves us to be. We have to have everything perfect and all the facts have to be, clear. Well, law's not black and white, so neither are we, that's impossible. And I feel like sometimes they miss the line on that one. So definitely just follow your instincts. You know yourself best. That's like the best thing I can possibly that I learned, that, really set my business and everything that I've done on fire. So in a good way.
Great. No, yeah, for sure. And then what about let's say somebody who wants to become a paralegal, what would be some advice that you give them? I know you shared a lot of information just now, and I'm sure that that's really good, but what, somebody think of when you first started, newbie, what would you say? How do you pick a law firm? How do you, get to where you've become, or to a paralegal standpoint?
Yeah, so I'm going to give you two things, two tips.
Okay.
So the first one is do your research on the law firm. Make sure the company culture is up to your standards. It's you feel comfortable when you walk in. How do you feel? You feel welcomed, you feel the little fear, you know, whatever it is, right? We're all nervous, but that's nerve, that's not fear. So really find a company that fits your needs, not the other way around. I feel like sometimes we're so desperate to get inside the door and do all the things that then we end up regretting our decision. Don't sell yourself short just because you have no experience. Get the money you need. You have to pay your bills at the end of the day. You're not going to starve to death. So understand that you need to, you know, be realistic about your return on investment. And that all goes in the first tip. My second tip is treat your to-do list, like that task list, as a reminder. Don't be a tasker. The law firms do not need a tasker. They need somebody that can take the case from start to finish. And whether you are that person or not, that's what you need to learn in order to succeed and have a really good, long-lasting legal career, is really converting your to-do list as a reminder list.
Mm-hmm. And now what do you do in, like, I'm sure you went to like conferences and events, you know, further education and stuff like that. Like, what do you do with the, you know, the temptation of other law firms reaching out to you because they've heard, you know, that you're excellent at, you know, the paralegal work that you do? What do you know, any pointers?
I always say be open. Don't ever close your opportunities. Be open to your opportunities. Go on the interview. Again, if you felt comfortable, you like that person, that's the best element to be in, is in your natural element where you're not like all suited up and nervous and that you applied and it's when somebody comes to you, they saw something in you that maybe even yourself didn't see, right? So understanding that that's powerful in and of its own, and understanding your worth. I feel like sometimes paralegals, again, have that like thing that we're lower than the attorney for some reason, or that, you know, we're at a lower standard. So if somebody's coming up to you and saying, hey, I think you have something and I think you'd be a great fit, doesn't hurt. Just go, you know, I mean, go for it. See what they have to offer. You know, I know sometimes we get comfortable, but comfortable is not going to pay the bills. If you've been working at your firm and it's a nice environment and you have all the things, but your account is crying, you know, there has to be some you know, there has to be some, you have to somewhere, right? Like, so either you tell that firm, hey, I'm dying here, I need more money, or more benefits, or whatever it else that you need. And if they say no to you after you provided them 5 years of service, then you know where you stand with that company. And then if somebody else is like, hey, I can offer you that, well then, okay, great. Let me go see what you got to offer, what your benefits are, what your hourly rate is. Are you flexible? What's your environment? Like, don't automatically say yes. Obviously, again, do the research. But I would never turn down an opportunity. Like, take it all in, you know, make an educated decision, just like anything else in life.
Yeah, that's great. That's really good advice. So yeah. Let's see. So, I mean, you got this podcast. It's definitely, when we first found out about your podcast, you know, there's not too many out there. So that was really helpful to have all that information out there. I've been watching some of the shows. What are the 5 interesting insights that, I guess, putting a podcast together is not easy. So what would you say the 5 most interesting things are about, you know, having a podcast and being a podcast host?
The number one is it's a great marketing tool, if done right. And what I mean by right is you have to be yourself. You always have to show up as yourself, especially if you're the host. You cannot fake it until you make it. That's just not a thing when it comes to the podcast. The listeners are going to hear you. They're going to see it. They're not going to feel it. And you're not going to get anywhere with your podcast. So you always have to put your best foot forward. If you're not feeling it, don't record. I did it this morning. I was so unprepared. I thought it was a pre-interview call with a guest, and the guest was ready to go. And I was like, no, I haven't read your book. I haven't done the research. Like, I want to be authentic and I truly want to know my guest and understand my guest before I hit record. It's not just another episode I'm throwing out. It's my brand. So, you know, understanding that it's a great marketing tool for your business, for your self-growth, for your professional growth, networking. It's a great opportunity. You get to meet people just like yourself. You know, and all around the world. Like, I've interviewed people from Canada, Australia, New Zealand, like London. It's just been amazing because it's, law is something that we can all talk about in the legal industry, regardless of where you're coming from. There's
Yeah.
always going to be the same principles, even though it might differ here or there. But law is law. And that's like the beautiful thing, right? You get this community and you're thinking, oh, it's just the States. But over half of my listeners are from outside of the country. And it's great. It's just
Yeah.
amazing to hear their feedback. They want to learn, they're eager to learn. And this is a great, quick storytelling. We all know that storytelling is the best way to learn.
Yep.
Way for the audience to really understand you, your brand, and your business. So definitely marketing. 5. Okay. So the second one I would say networking, right? Like I said, meeting people and from all around the world and growing your network organically, right? Not a sales pitch, not something that you're like emailing people and hoping and praying they'll respond.
Yeah, I
You have
see that a lot.
something, you have something more to offer, right?
Yeah.
So definitely networking would be my second one. The third one is connecting with people that you would normally not connect with. And the difference between the networking and connecting is my listeners.
Yeah.
When I get the emails from my listeners, oh my God, you made me cry with your story, or you have no idea how good this made me feel. I'm like ready to conquer the world. Or I left my job and got a brand new job and I'm doing amazing at it thanks to your podcast. So like all these genuine like I get the chills just saying that. And these
Nice.
are real. Like I'm not
Yeah.
making these up,
Yeah.
and it's just really nice to see people just want to be seen. People just want to be heard, right? And so once they get understood and once they hear something that they relate to, that's it. You're golden. You're in their inbox, you're in their ear
Yep.
every week. And that's
Yep.
great. All you need is I think it's I just went to the Podfest in Orlando in January. Oh, all you need is 100 loyal listeners in order to be a successful podcast.
Wow. That's really good insights. I didn't even know that. So
Yeah. So,
really good.
and it's great. It opens yourself up to a different community. Like I said, I guess this would be number 4.
Yeah.
It opens yourself to a different community. So, like I said, I was at the Podfest. It's so great to meet other podcasters. I love it. It's just creative minds thinking outside the box, thinking outside the norm, breaking the barrier. And that's who I am in a nutshell. I didn't know that podcasting was like that too. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
great to meet other people, be on other people's platforms, and really give them that outlet and share platforms, share information, kind of like what we're doing today. So, it opens yourself up to a different community that you would have never thought about otherwise. And I
Yeah.
guess the last one, it keeps you real, keeps you authentic.
Yeah.
It keeps you like in the known, right? Because you
Right.
have to be on top of what's out there, what's going on, what are the legal trends, what can I talk about this week to make it top of the charts or at least on the chart. So it keeps you on your toes, it keeps you researching, it keeps you in the known, right? So you're never like sideswiped when it comes to the legal community, and you can talk about anything because you're constantly on top of it. So like literally I don't have to practice for podcasting or going on Instagram lives or whatever it is, because it's like I already know my stuff. I have to research it every single week. I know what's going on, and if I don't know it, I learn it. So you can throw anything at me at this point just because I've done it all.
And let me ask you this. So do the paralegals and I guess do the paralegals out where you're from, do they like normally network and stuff like that? Like, do they try to bring cases into their law firm to get like bonuses and stuff like that? Because that's huge out here. Like, and I picked
You know
this up.
what? I wish we would do that a lot more. I know in California it's very popular. I work in California too. So California, New York, those states, Chicago, Colorado, all those big states, definitely utilize those community events. I've seen a lot of them go to like the festivals and the fairs, and especially if the law firm is like sponsoring, they'll send out their paralegals to go to the booths. And so I've been there, done that. They don't. Unfortunately, here in Florida, it's not that it's not that popular, to bring in clients. And we are, even though we're the client experience, right? So I don't know why. I don't know why they missed the mold on that one. But I'm totally different.
I can see
I always,
that.
yeah, I always was out there. If I saw that the law firm was sponsoring, sorry, my dog is like, hello.
No worries.
And so if I saw that the law firm was sponsoring something, I would automatically be like, I'll go, and represent the law firm. And it's a great way to put yourself out there.
Absolutely.
It really is. It's a great way to just put yourself out there, meet new people. And I think that's what made my business stand out later on, because I cultivated that for 15 years and never burned a bridge. So, it kind of helps.
Yeah, of course, big time. And another question is, what is your favorite type of law?
You told me this one and you got me, because I'm like, and really, I can't really answer that, because I love all types of law. I think every single type of law has its importance, obviously, but has its meaning, right? So there is definitely different personalities for different types of practice of law. Like family law is super, super difficult when it comes to, you know what I mean? And then criminal law and probate and estate and elder law. These are really hard laws. But for me, I think it would just be all of them, just because I believe that law translates anywhere you go, from the time that you get your driver's license to the time that you go into a hotel, get an Airbnb, get married, get divorced, have a child, whatever it is. There's always like different types of legal aspects to everything. So that's why I like everything, because I like to learn about everything. So I don't really like specify
on it, right?
Yeah, because I love everything. Like, I'm that person that reads the policy, the liability clauses, like, it's like I'm at a hotel and I'm like, give me that. I need to see what the hell I'm signing.
What am I signing, right? Yeah. Like, look, I think we've all been tricked a couple times. And if you probably haven't, you're watching this, you eventually will. So make sure you read the fine line. It's always super important. Yeah.
Absolutely. Doesn't mean you're not going to sign it. And I'm not here to scare you. I just want you to know what you're signing, because some people are like, I didn't even know that was a thing. I didn't even know that was an option. Yeah. And so, understanding it's everything. Like, perfect example, my husband's car accidentally, and I say this with an emphasis, got towed. It was literally in our driveway, and they towed the wrong car. So anyway, long story short, we're like calling our association, like, where's our car? Because they didn't leave a notice. We had no idea where our car went. It was on our driveway. So we're like, what's going on? So they literally went on our property. Like, they broke so many laws.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's paid for. So it's not like it was a repo. It's like, I'm not understanding what's going on here. So they broke so many laws. So I literally let them have it. I was like, listen, you're getting off. I just want a refund. I want a refund of all our costs, our gas, taking it out, this and that. And on top of that, we get to the place to get our car that we own. Yeah. And the guy's like, oh, we need the registered person. And we're like, we're married. We're the registered, by law. If you're married, what's his is his and what's his is mine. Yeah. So I'm like, I'm his wife. And he's like, well, you can't pay with your card. I'm like, that's BS. I'm like, we're legally married. And like, what are you talking about? So I showed him a copy of our marital certificate, and he was just not having it. He was not letting me pay. So I had to go take out money from our account to pay him cash, because he wouldn't take my card to pay.
I see. Yeah.
So anyway, I let them have it, sent them an email, showed them all the laws of what they broke and how bad it could be if I really wanted to take them to the cleaners. Oh, yeah. Because he was saying it was a company policy. I'm like, well, company policy does not trump Florida statute. Exactly. So I don't know who you think you are, but you ain't no governor. So so I had to do that. But I felt confident in myself, right? And I knew that they were wrong, and they themselves didn't. So, I was like, you know what? I hope you take this as a learning curve. I hope you take this as a learning. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm not trying to make you feel like I'm better than you. I'm just letting you know that your company can go down if you continue with this policy, especially if I was a lawyer. You would be done. You would be done. Yeah. Like that. It's just, you'd be done. Like, like you'd be out of business tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you better have some good, what is it, E&O or professional liability insurance or something. Yes. because yeah, that's not good. And then my last question for you is, what do you think about AI, Chat GBT? A lot
Oh
of
my
talk around
gosh.
it. How do you use it? Do you enjoy it? Can you use it, in your, I don't know, emails, or, putting together, demand letters and stuff?
So I was not for it. I was one of those. But
Uh-huh.
I'm that person where I'm like I get excited. But I'm that person where I always love a book, a paper book. And I was so against audiobooks and ebooks and all the books. And I was always traditional route. I like the paper on my finger. I still do. But
Yeah.
but there's a benefit, just like anything else. If I'm driving, an hour to my client, I can listen to a chapter of a book, while I'm going versus, whatever. So I feel like ChatGPT and all this other AI that's coming out is very beneficial for shortcuts and for gathering information, but just like anything else, user error. If you put
Yeah.
in something, you better make sure that you're reading it, that you're proofreading it, that it's not breaking anything. In legal industry, it can be very detrimental. So
Absolutely.
understanding that it's great to give you an outline, general information, but you still have to put in the work and do the research and make sure that what's coming out is actually what's real, right? Especially because it's a lot of jurisdiction, a lot of state by state, a lot of county by county, city by city, like every little,
Yeah,
intricacy you can possibly think about. You have to make sure that the information is correct, that it's actually valid before you start putting it out there.
oh, of
But
course. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen people read or write like children's books and, all this stuff in like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So it definitely has its benefits. College students are going to have a trip with this. This is going to be
Right.
amazing. They're going to use this like crazy.
Oh yeah. I mean, I wish I had it back in like high school and whatever. I mean, I just wish I had it, period. But
Yeah.
it
And I
truly
love
is
it. I
something.
use it. I used it for my focus groups when we were doing the curriculum for the paralegal studies programs, for questions, because I couldn't come up with any like actual like
Smart.
what's relevant, right? Like
Yeah.
what can I actually ask? So we used it. My team, well, I didn't personally, but my team used it and spit it out and sent it to me. And I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I don't have to think about it, but it's just questions, right? Like
Right.
it's nothing that I have to repurpose or, trademark or whatever. So it's been
Yeah.
great.
No, that's awesome. Listen, it's been really nice talking to you. You're honestly an amazing person, and I can see you're gonna become big, and I know one of these days we're probably gonna meet in person. Hopefully, if you ever travel out to California, we would love
Yeah,
to have you come into our studio, and yeah,
of
it's
course.
been awesome. It's always good talking to you.
Thank you.
Cool. All right, guys, that's it for today. Have a good one.